Okay, so it was race 6 where you tear the groin, right? On the first
Yeah.
one.
hmm
Did you feel it split?
It felt like somebody took a knife and stabbed me in the groin with it. And ironically, I had just gotten off the phone with my parents and I was like, we're good. Like I just run these two more. Like I really started to feel the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm like, we have Dubai. It's a beautiful day in Dubai. There are spectators out there cheering us on. And I remember being at mile 2 and it just kind of felt like a stabbing knife. And I knew right away, I'm like, what happened is it turned black and blue. So they did like a travel, like ultrasound thing, and they said, you've torn it. And I thought, oh my God. But there wasn't, we were concerned that it might be a blood clot, and it wasn't a blood clot, thank God. So I was able to, so when I crossed the finish line, I had one marathon to go. And I was just thinking, you have a 12-hour flight to Australia, and the airline stewardess, she was like switched out my ice pack for me when I fell asleep. That was the lowest point where I was thinking, I cannot run. How, like you said, people lifting up the cars, like you just do it. And I thought I can spend 4 hours in pain, or 40 years explaining to the world that I almost did it. The 2 American females that tried to run this race, that were stopped at marathon 6, because they were so badly hurt.
Wait, so it was the start of the 6th marathon where you tore it though, right?
No, I was at mile 2. So I was into the race. Like I started the race. I remember talking to my parents and just saying, like, I feel good. Everything's great. Talking to the sponsors after every marathon. And it just gave out. So
but you still had all of 6 and 7.
All of 6 and 7. Yeah. When I was running at marathon 6, and I remember just thinking, I was taking painkillers. I don't even take painkillers. I was taking they were like handing me painkillers, and I was taking them because I was so desperate and I didn't know what they were. But I knew that I was in trouble. Like I knew that I had to do whatever it took to finish. And when I really didn't know until I crossed the finish line, like how badly it was. I was like, I'm in pain, and then when I crossed the finish line of marathon 6, and I had 1 to go, I'm like, I will walk this. I don't know what to do. Like I'm gonna finish. I'm Becca Pizzi, ultra endurance runner, and this is my golden hour.
Boston, 2020, an era of chaos. But one podcast perseveres to unite the city. Ha ha ha! Yes, sir, baby boy. It's Big Bochi, and you're now tuned into the #1 podcast in Boston. Season 6 is booming.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good.
Perfect.
Hey, I'm Conor. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're living in a strange world, man. Normally, we would just have you to the studio. Where are you, Belmont?
Belmont.
Sweet. Yeah. So as I was saying, like, we have a variety of people on the show, like ranging in every single industry. And when I talked to your sister last week, I thought she was like totally bullshitting me. I thought she was like, yeah, my sister ran like 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. And I was like, all right, like that seemed like a pretty elaborate lie. Like, why would you just say that? And then she brought it up again in the conversation. And I was like, what? And so I give you a Google search, and like, you've just done the craziest stuff ever.
Thanks.
Before we move on, can you just give a quick synopsis of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm Becca Pizzi, and I live in Belmont, Mass, and basically best known for running 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days, and run about, I think just over 80 about over 80 marathons. So looking to finish a marathon in all 50 states, and I can just keep going if this.
Now, was that the 50 challenge that you were talking about, or was it 50 marathons in 50 days and 50?
No. Yeah. So there's I'm just looking to finish the 50 states. So it's taken me about 5 years to do all the 50 states.
And so now that you've already just housed the World Marathon Challenge twice, like in your mind, what's like the next challenge?
The next challenge for me after the 50 states, the big goal is to run across America, which I've been thinking about it for about 2 or 3 years. And I'd like to run an ultra marathon. I'd like to run across the US. I'd like to do an Ironman. I'm drawn to like these ultimate tests of endurance and strength races. So hope to finish all 3 of those things.
Now, can you just, for anybody listening, just distinguish what an ultra marathon actually is? I thought the World Marathon Challenge was an ultra marathon.
Yeah, so it's funny that you say that because it's the World Marathon Challenge. Each marathon was a marathon, 26.2 miles. Technically speaking, anything over 26.2 miles is an ultra marathon. So a 30-mile race or 50-mile, 100-mile race. So they're best known for like 50 or 100-mile races.
And so last night, Brendan, one of our producers who you just talked to, he was like, hey, there's this woman who came on Joe Rogan. Brendan, what was her name? Courtney DeWalter?
Yes.
So she ran 240 through Moab, 240 miles through the desert. Does that type of challenge like intrigue you in your mind? Does like something trigger like, oh my God, I might be able to do that?
Yeah, if I get to thinking about it long enough. So the World Marathon Challenge, I had a shot at making history. No female had never run 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. So I was drawn more to the making history and getting into the Guinness Book of World Records. And my daughter was 8 at the time, and I wanted to show her that you could do anything you put your mind to if you believe in yourself. So if there's something that I just can't stop thinking about, like the Run Across America, maybe I can raise $1 million for charity. I love these kind of things. So, it would definitely be, if I learn more about the race and something that I want to go for. I always say if my dreams don't scare my parents, they're not big enough. So I know that when they're scared that my dream's pretty big.
Well, so how do you assess that at this point? Like you're so super accomplished athletically. How do you set the bar for yourself to like go a little bit harder? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know
like
exactly what you're saying.
You plateau after a certain point. Like, what more can you really do?
Yeah, and that was something that the race director, ironically, Richard Donovan from Ireland, he said to me, when you cross the finish line, it's hard because there's no like what's next. Everybody wants to know what's next. They want to hear from you. They want to, know what you're up to, and so. I did it again. I had an opportunity to run the race again, and I thought I'm going to go for it. No female has ever run it 2 times, and so I went for it again. And I had so much fun. I also love to run, and I love to travel. So getting to do the things that I love to do is fun for me. But people are constantly like, "What's next? What are you up to? What are you doing?" And I feel like that's I will never run across America until I'm mentally and physically willing and able to do it. And
how do you assess that though? How do you know when you would be ready?
It takes me, before any big feat that I sign up for, it takes me a full year to train my mind, my body. So I know if I put in a year's worth of training that I'll be ready to go.
So at what point, we had talked on the phone a little bit about it. So you ran your first marathon when you were 17, right?
Mm-hmm.
At what point growing up did you know mentally you had something in you that was a little bit different than everybody else?
So basically running through high school, breaking records, I love that, and my hometown of Belmont is so supportive of me. And, I lay my dreams out there and they're like my biggest fan. Being from the Boston community where we have all these resources here, I feel like I love to make people proud, my parents, my family, my sponsors. So definitely I like to push my mind and body to see what I can do. And, there was a point when my parents were really afraid about this race and they said, what if you don't finish? But what if I do, and I know that in my mind, if I don't finish the Run Across America, if I don't finish, I have laid it out there and I've done everything in my power to finish these races. And it's hard having big dreams because there's so much room for failure, but maybe because I was raised by a Marine who's, he's a tough guy and super, super loving. And, my dad's totally my hero and big cheerleader and supporter. But I don't know why I'm so different, so, but I wouldn't change it.
So there was no moment when you were growing up where you were like, you know what, I think just a little bit differently than most people. Like when I was in I was telling the producers this, when I was in 5th grade, I've just always been like, I've had good jokes, man, kind of a class clown. But I realized in 5th grade, I was like, yeah, I can make people laugh on command a lot easier than everybody else. I realized that early. Like when you were growing up, did you realize like, okay, like I got that alien brain and everybody else is like subservient?
Yeah, I think when I was running with the boys, because the girls couldn't keep up when I was younger, and I remember liking that and seeing maybe they can push me, and that's definitely been something growing up, working out with the boys and running with the boys, and then I did join an all girls track club, Liberty, which is still around, and was coached by a great coach, Ken McKenna, who was great, and I think that had a lot to do with it too. But I love pushing I've always loved, just remember my whole life just running and loving the feeling. And I remember when my dad took me to my first race, I was 6 years old. And I remember getting in the car, and it was a 5-mile race. And I won my age group. I think I was the only one in my age group, but I won my age group. And I remember I got all this like Bay Bank swag, and it was like this bank, kind of like Bank of America back in the day. And I remember thinking, this is awesome. Like I can win stuff. And like, it didn't occur to me that I was the only one in my age group, but I love the feeling and getting a scholarship in college and I just love that.
What'd you get? Like a bunch of stress balls and pens?
I got like a cooler, a water bottle, an extra large t-shirt. I was only 6, like all this cheesy stuff, but I won it. So it meant so much to me. So that's what I remember.
So you're like you're a competitive psycho.
Yeah, I am really competitive. And so it's tough, when the second time I ran 777, I had help from Tom Brady's company, TB12. And I thought, there's no way you cannot come in second place with Tom Brady's help. It's not an option. So the pressure, but what I learned about myself is I work really well under pressure. So it's not when I run across America, when I have these big dreams, I know that everybody's watching. So, I actually got in a little bit of trouble when I ran this for the first time. I had a groin tear, my groin was torn, and
how bad?
Really, like, to the point where like I couldn't walk, and I was like, it was mile 2, marathon 6, and something that the Red Sox, the Patriots had said, we didn't come this far just to come this far, and I didn't give up a year of training and leave my daughter for 16 days to not finish this race. So when I do commit to these races, not finishing this race is never an option for me. I'll do whatever it takes. And that means like running on an injured foot and doing everything that I can to finish line. So when I crossed the finish line in Australia, and my family was live on Skype, and my daughter got pulled from her classroom to announce that I had made history. It's something that just means so much to me, so the second time I ran it, I had that help from Tom Brady's company, TB12, and finished without an injury.
You're pumped about that, huh? You're pumped about the TB12 sponsorship.
Yeah.
I would be too. That's
they
fire.
were so supportive and was just my biggest fan, and it's pretty awesome.
So can you just give a quick foundation of how the Ultra Marathon Challenge, the World Marathon Challenge works? So it's all premeditated, but you fly from the US to where?
The race begins in Antarctica. For me, that was my most favorite continent, but also the most intimidating. It's so cold that like your iPod doesn't start. You can't really think straight. So you have to come out of the gates like with 100% focus, because it's negative 20 degrees, it's freezing. And you're like, how am I going to, so you just say, if I just get through this one, then I'll be okay. This is the one. You go to Canada to train for it. I had gone into Canada and ran like for a couple hours, and then just to see, it gets cold in Boston, but not that cold. So you want to know what that feels like. So my husband and I went to Montreal to run. And so that's Antarctica to me. Once I get Antarctica out of the way, I'm like, okay, I'm okay. But then next up was in Chile, and you're going from like negative 20 to 90 degrees. And that's a huge, you're like, I'm so cold. And then 24 hours later, you're like, I'm really hot. I don't feel good. So you just, on top of running, and the very first time I ran this race, it was on, we mostly took American Airlines. So you put in all this work for a year, and you're relying so heavily on hoping that the flights get on time. And that's very stressful. So you just keep your guard up and take one continent at a time.
So you flew commercial between continents?
Yeah, the first time. The second time we chartered a plane, the Airbus 340, and it was so awesome because we got to leave our stuff on the planes and didn't have to like lug all our stuff everywhere with us.
So first plane ride, you hop off the American Airlines flight, or I'm sure they had you on like a smaller plane to get to Antarctica, right? In the first place.
Yeah, you're on the military Russian Illusion, which is awesome. I mean, it's military style seating, like bucket seating, and the seatbelts come over your head, and that was one of my favorite things about the whole experience.
So, what type of terrain are you running on in Antarctica? Is it
A
ice?
glacier. Yeah, so you're running on a glacier, which it can crack at any time. Probably won't. You hope that it doesn't, but the race director will not. If it's not safe, he won't let you race. So, luckily that they get there early, and the Russian military sets up the whole course for you, and so you're safe.
Now, what are you doing for shoes to run on the glacier?
I ran in my Newtons, so that's what I trained in, and that's what I ran in. You could run in like anything else whether the trained ones, but I didn't want to get shin splints at like mile 20 to 26. So I'm very familiar with the Newtons, so I ran in the Newtons.
I'm unfamiliar with Newtons. Are they a company from around here? Or?
Based out of Colorado, they're like a marathon sneaker.
Okay,
Yeah.
sweet. So when you're running, and we had read something that like your iPod was like busted in Antarctica, like wouldn't work.
It's so cool. It's so cool. It doesn't turn on, and you're like, "What am I going to do for the next 4 hours?" Like,
so you had no music in Antarctica?
No, I had no music, and then I thought, this is pretty. It does take a tremendous amount of focus because you have to think about your water intake. You're drinking warm water because cold water would freeze. So, it kind of helped me both times to keep my guard up. Like no silly mistakes, and maybe if you're listening to iPod, maybe you'll go through a water station not thinking about how much you need to drink the water. So it was a blessing in disguise. But that when you go to turn your iPod on and it doesn't work, you're like, oh, this is going to be a long day.
Wait, so you hopped off the plane in Antarctica and you were playing nothing in your ears for the whole time running on the glacier?
Yeah, and
what?
Yeah,
that is insane.
Yeah. I thought about my daughter. It gets you thinking because you're like, I'm out here and like, but then you're like, I'm in Antarctica for 4 hours. I will never get this back in my entire life. Y'all probably never go to Antarctica ever again. Let me just take it in. The mountains, the sun. The problem. It's very windy, so it's really, really windy. It kind of feels like somebody's tugging at your jacket and you can't run. And then the other thing is the sun is completely blinding, so you have to wear like head to toe. Any exposed skin, you'll get blisters. So you have to be totally covered head to toe, which again is very different from running in Boston. So it does help you focus more. But the first time I ran it, the two guys were about 15 minutes ahead of me, and the guys behind me were a half hour behind me. So not having anybody anywhere near me was very stressful.
Now, what's going on in your mind when you're trekking across the glacier, no music? Like where do you reach in your mind? Are you like thinking of your past? Are you like thinking solely the race?
Well, two things. I always think about my daughter when I run. And what I say to myself is, are you doing everything you can possibly be doing right now to win this race? Like, are you laying it all out there? Are you running smart? Are you, and then oftentimes the answer is no. Like, I could be running a little bit harder, or maybe I need to make smarter moves. Or so I think mostly the focus in Antarctica, and that was really stressful. And it's freezing there, and the sun is so blinding, and but when I'm running, I'm thinking about my daughter, and leaving her for 2 weeks is it's so important that I do the best that I can do.
So you are solely thinking about your daughter and then the terrain and the course for the 3-4 hour period. That's it.
Yeah, that's
all
it.
You do is hear yourself breathing. Did you see any animals along the way? Did you see anything like
No, there were no animals. And it was a 10K course that you run 4 times. So if you're going to drop your gloves, or if you're going to drop a hat or something, you're going to go 6 miles without it. So you need to start thinking at like mile 5, or you need to start thinking well into because then once you drop it, is it going to be wet when you go to pick it up the next loop? Or you have to like think about that kind of thing. Like there's only 4 water stops, so you got to be sure.
Now, what did you do for like a carb loading before the first marathon?
So the food in Antarctica, I had a dessert on all 7 continents, which was awesome. And Antarctica, the food is so good because they have a chef there. They have a whole team of people there for you. And I had meatloaf and mashed potatoes. I'm like, maybe I'm eating too much, but I don't know. I mean, I was kind of hungry and, wanted to be sure over the next 7 days. You lose about 10 pounds, and everybody averages about losing 10 pounds over the 7 days. So trying to keep your hydration up was actually one of the hardest. You have to get up in the middle of your flight and walk around and drink a ton of water, and you just don't feel good. You don't feel tired. You're being poked at. But trying to recover on every in between and stay hydrated, that was really hard. And then any food that we could find, we were eating. So like there were a ton of food options. But something I didn't really realize is chicken overseas is very different than chicken here. So maybe it's spicy over there. Maybe so that was another thing I didn't take into consideration.
So before the first race, though, the prep beforehand, I've just been doing a little bit of research. I know people, they taper off their runs, they have fresh legs, but what were you doing in terms of diet right before the first race? Were you going like heavy on carbs?
Yeah, typically before one marathon, I'll back off on the carbs the week leading up to it. But this is so different because it's over 7 days that I was actually eating double the carbs. So, and just trying to
do you track your macronutrients?
No, and I never done anything like that. No.
So what? You're just like, all right, I'm gonna have like 10 fat bowls of pasta.
I'm gonna have an extra potato. I'm gonna have an extra bowl of pasta. Because I'm probably gonna need it over the 10 days. So you kind of go to the starting line a little bloated. You're like, rather than like really fit, you're like, I'm kind of a little bloated. So that's different for me.
And in terms of rehydration, are you doing a lot of like Gatorades with electrolytes? Are you doing Cliff Bars while you run? Like, how are you replenishing your body?
The two things that goo, Roctane makes a great goo. And then the second one is Ultimate Replenisher, which is sold at Whole Foods. It's an excellent electrolyte. Those are my two go-tos. So I knew I could travel it. I knew I could take the sticks with me and switch the flavors. And but during this 777, I kept adding more. So I'd start every marathon with 2 goos. And by the end, my sister gave me like 6 goos, like towards the, I'm like, I need another goo. Like I'm tired. I feel
Give me that goo, man. Give me that goo.
Yeah, I really was like, and she's like, and she was a hero about getting that for me. And she was able to figure that out. And, so having the extra goo and electrolytes really helped.
It's the little things.
Yeah.
Extra goo.
Yeah.
Are you a big Whole Foods fan now?
No, like I really am the old fashioned, when I remember when the world switched to like quinoa, I'm like, what's the quinoa? Why are we doing that? Like, I'm Italian. I love pasta just as is with chicken and Parmesan and everything. Like I just really just have always been an old fashioned, and because I'm still running about 70 miles a week. So,
what'd you do today?
I did 10 this morning.
You know what, Becca? I did a 2.5 mile sprint for myself and a 1 mile cool down, and I almost had an asthma attack. And I was literally thinking, I was running through Quincy today. I was like, how could anybody enjoy this and enjoy it times 2 million? It's insanity.
I love it. I just love to travel. I don't know. I just really enjoy it. I really love seeing the world.
Now, what was your loop today?
So today I did track workout. Yeah, I did.
That low impact?
Yeah, and we did 800s just, because the thing is, so today was when you re-sign up for Boston, and it's going to be virtual and very different, but you have a 2-week span in September to run the Boston Marathon if you've qualified. And obviously they can't have the Boston Marathon this year. So that's kind of devastating, but we're going to run it virtually in September, and it's going to be awesome. And so I know that I'm still training just to stay in repetition, but I know that there's going to be a marathon some point, and hopefully in the near future, but I want to be fit and ready to go when I run it. And who knows when it's going to be, but I've been 1.5 years without a marathon. This is the longest I've ever gone in my life without running a marathon. So I like to run between 7 and 10 a year, and to not have that, it's frustrating.
Now, what would you like to do for timing on the Boston? Like, what would be good for you?
So I'm hoping to find something. Maybe there's a marathon somewhere where I can kind of race it and use that as a virtual time. But I like to usually run in the 3:30 range.
What's your record?
3:24.
So you want to do that 3:23.
Yeah.
I know
But
what's going
then
on
I've
in your
never
head,
really
man.
I've never raced a marathon. Like I always, cause I run like 10 a year, 7 to 10 a year. So I'm pretty tired when I go to run a marathon, but as long as I can I want to keep my Boston streak. I've run 18. This will be 18 for me. And I want to keep that streak going and finish the 50 states and then maybe race a couple marathons. But
Now, if you really sent it, do you think you could go under sub 3 hours?
I think Kristen can. My sister could if she did. But yeah, I mean, maybe in my college years I could have. But
Why, Kristen's faster than you?
Kristen's so fast. She's like a 3:05 marathoner. I'm like a 3:30.
What's in you guys' gene pool, man? Did you guys just grow up like beating the shit out of each other in your house?
Yeah, we just grew up running. My dad was I remember saying to my dad, I don't want to bike, I want to run. And he was like, okay, let's run. And you know, my daughter's a big biker, and we got bikes, and she's hasn't said that yet, but that's okay.
Okay, so just peeling it back a little bit. So you, after the first Antarctica race, you finish it, and then you fly to like a mountainous range in Chile.
Yeah, Chile was unbelievable. Santiago, and that was really Punta Arenas, Chile was great, and that was right in the water. That was really right outside Patagonia. That was pretty cool.
Now, I frequently, again, I can't even compare myself to you, but when I'm running, obviously your brain has the moment where it's like, all right, it's time to quit. Like, it's time to slow down. It's time to stop. How do you assess that when you're running?
I don't not until I cross the finish. Whenever I sign up for any race, 5K, marathon, I envision in my training me crossing the finish line, like what that's going to feel like in another state, in another country, down the street. And I don't stop until that I hit my goal. I mean, luckily I've never been so badly injured that I have a high tolerance for pain until I don't. And when I don't, I just don't, so I try and just keep my focus and guard up and envision myself in my training. The more I do it in my training, the more I want that feeling of crossing the finish line with my hands in the air, or maybe my daughter runs the last 100 yards with me, or so that's what my goal is, to like finish the way that I trained, and in my training, I can adapt to this model, get comfortable being uncomfortable, and you'll make it. And that just means like doing things all the time that you don't feel like doing. Maybe you're running twice a day. Maybe you're running at 4 a.m. So once you adapt those things, then that's your new normal.
But how do you assess the voice when you're running that's telling you to quit? Obviously you don't give into it, but like, what is your internal conversation?
Well, I think about like telling my daughter I didn't finish, or I didn't win, or I didn't, and the heartbreak, like I think about like, but I always tell her, I don't want to put the pressure on her, that I want her to feel like she's done her best. So, I always just say, when I went to run the volcano marathon, I kind of embarrassed myself. Like it was at 15,000 feet altitude. I got out of the Jeep and like at the top of the mountain, and I like fell I could not, even though we went out there early and I ran at like 10,000, when I hit that 15, I thought I was going to collapse. And I felt like, and it was in Santiago, Chile.
Oh, so you're saying this is part of the World Marathon?
This was not part of the 777. This was called the Volcano Marathon. This was a completely different race that I actually wound up really loving, but I didn't win. And I came in second. I didn't do so bad, but I didn't win. And I don't like that feeling of telling my daughter that I didn't win, but I did everything I possibly could. I thought when I was running, I was at like mile 20. I'm like, this is going to be my first, did not finish, and everything was going through my mind. And I just remember like the altitude, it started at 15 and it only went down to 13. So it's not even like it went down to 5,000 feet. It was really, really tough. And sometimes life doesn't go your way, and that's okay. But I did the best that I could do. I mean, there's no altitude in Boston, so it was really hard training and go. I don't know why I thought I could run this race, but I did the best that I could, and that's okay. I definitely felt stronger for finishing it, but
but you want to go back and do it again to win.
The race director was like, come back, and I feel like you could do it a lot better. I'm like, I didn't die. I had the time of my life, but that's scary. 15,000 feet. That's so high that like I was delirious. I was like foaming at the mouth and didn't feel good. But I like those. It was same race director, so I really love his races. And he has the North Pole Marathon, which is -50. So I'd like to do that someday.
these people who like stress out about Heartbreak Hill, you must be like, you are so soft.
These races definitely make you, even still when I go to a marathon, I'm like, pull it together. It's just one. You're just running one today. Just pull it together, So, but I love to like see what I can do.
All right. So Chili's done and you were comfortable with that race. You eat as soon as the marathon's over?
Yes.
On site or on the plane?
Right across. So when you cross the finish line, like you go, it's all hours of the day. So you're not running every day at 8 a.m. You're running whatever you get off the plane, and you have an hour to like adjust. And, but when you cross the finish line, chances are right across the street, there's your hotel where you kind of shower, regroup, and get organized. And then they had food open 24 hours. So you eat there.
Now, what is your sleep schedule like in the 7-day period?
You're averaging about 10 hours flying per day. So I was able to sleep no problem on the plane. So I slept between 7 and 8 hours a night without a problem. People said, how did you sleep on the plane? Well, we just ran a marathon. We were so tired that we slept. So but then like when you have to get up every couple hours to like foam roll and hydrate. And so that was tough. That was like, you kind of would like get up and move around. Then you're like, okay, no, I need to stand up and go to the bathroom and roll up so that you don't want to really, really stiffen for 8 hours. Because then every marathon, I'm like, okay, just get to mile 4 and then your body will be warmed up and you'll be ready to go.
So you're waking up from a nap on the plane and you're taking out a foam roller in like the aisle and you're rolling out your hamstrings and.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. And the seats laid flat down into bed. So you were able to like roll, like pull your leg back or like stretch out your body on the bed as well.
Okay. So from Chile, you go where?
Miami. So you had the home course advantage being a number 3. They switched the routes the second time. So the second time I did this, we finished in Miami, but having it third was really awesome because you had that like home course advantage feel, you're back in America. That was real. I was drinking Starbucks and eating pizza. It was great.
My whole family. In the summer?
No, it's in January. So
okay. I was going to say Miami in the summer is like ridiculous.
Yeah, that would be tough. Yeah, that would be tough. So it was perfect conditions. Like I remember being like tank top and shorts and feeling totally comfortable.
And then you head to Europe or Africa?
Madrid. So Madrid was next in Europe. And the problem with this race is Madrid and Morocco were 2 marathons within 12 hours. So I started the Madrid marathon at 11 a.m. and was towing the line of Morocco at midnight. So I'm like, just get through these 2 back-to-back marathons and you'll just have Dubai, in Australia.
Does the race designer specifically do that right in the middle to like really challenge the runners?
No, I think he would do opposite. I think that we have no time. So that's exactly why we had to run that one back to back just to get to Dubai and then to Australia.
Now, was there any moment when you're on the plane and you're flying from country to country where you're like, all right, like I really am just tapped out, or are you like pumped the whole time?
Yeah, no, you're tired. Like the thing with these type of races, which I didn't really realize, your highs are high. You're like, I just ran another marathon. Here's another awesome medal. I'm having a great time. But your lows are really low. Like I cried because I couldn't find my apple one time. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Or I was really missing my child. I was, feeling selfish for leaving her. The lows are low. Like when you still have 4 marathons to go and you don't feel good, that stinks, So I think, but you just envision crossing the finish line and you're going to get there. You take 1 marathon at a time. Sometimes you take 1 mile at a time just to get through it. And that was definitely, the lows are tough. You just know that you're going to get through them. And the beauty of this type of races is you're going through hell together. So you meet all these runners and they know your low points. When somebody's having a bad day, you just kind of rally. But as much as you are to maybe you're there to race and win and compete, you become lifelong friends. So you're like, you become really close and you help each other through it.
Okay. So it was race 6 where you tear the groin, right? On the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel it split?
It felt like somebody took a knife and stabbed me in the groin with it. And ironically, I had just gotten off the phone with my parents and I was like, we're good. Like, I just run these 2 more. Like, I really started to feel the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm like, we have Dubai. It's a beautiful day in Dubai. There are spectators out there cheering us on. And I remember being at mile 2, and it just kind of felt like a stabbing knife. And I knew right away, I'm like, what happened is it turned black and blue. So they did like a travel, like ultrasound thing, and they said, you've torn it. And I thought, oh my God. But we were concerned that it might be a blood clot, and it wasn't a blood clot, thank God. So I was able to, so when I crossed the finish line, I had 1 marathon to go. And I was just thinking, you have a 12-hour flight to Australia, and the airline stewardess, she was like switched out my ice pack for me when I fell asleep. That was the lowest point where I was thinking, I cannot run. How, like you said, people lifting up the cars, like, you just do it. And I thought, I can spend 4 hours in pain, or 40 years explaining to the world that I almost did it. The 2 American females that tried to run this race, that were stopped at marathon 6, because they were so badly hurt.
Wait, so it was the start of the 6th marathon where you tore it, though, right?
No, I was at mile 2. So I was into the race. Like, I started the race. I remember talking to my parents and just saying, like, I feel good. Everything's great. Talking to the sponsors after every marathon. And it just gave out. So
but you still had all of 6 and 7.
All of 6 and 7. Yeah. When I was running at marathon 6, and I remember just thinking, I was taking painkillers. I don't even take painkillers. I was taking they were like handing me painkillers, and I was taking them because I was so desperate, and I didn't know what they were. But I knew that I was in trouble. Like, I knew that I had to do whatever it took to finish. And when I really didn't know until I crossed the finish line, like, how badly it was. I was like, I'm in pain, and then when I crossed the finish line of marathon 6, and I had 1 to go, I'm like, I will walk this. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm gonna finish.
So they were giving you painkillers, like, whoa, they were like Oxycontin or like Vicodin?
I don't even know. I still don't know what they were, but they weren't Advil. I don't know. And it definitely was not my proudest moment. I don't even take Advil now. I don't take anything. I just like to just work it out, and so, but when you're desperate, you're desperate. So I was definitely thinking, like, if I can finish this race, or, and these are doctors. These aren't people that just are off the streets. I fully trusted that they would know what to do.
What was your pace on the 6th and 7th?
4. It was right under 4 hours. So
you're a sicko. You're a sicko.
I just wanted to get it done. And so I remember, like, arriving to Australia, I hadn't seen my husband in like 2 weeks, like probably 2 weeks. And I was like, he like threw out his arms, and I was like, I can't even walk. Like, I don't know what to do. And so when I was running Australia, it was super frustrating, because I was like, in my mind, I had never had an injury like that. Like, nothing has ever stopped me from, I haven't felt good and things didn't, but nothing like that. Like, I really couldn't walk. So I'm like, I got to figure out how, but I got this email from this doctor at Harvard, and he said, run with your toes facing all the way in. You're going to take the pain off your groin, and you'll be using other muscles. So I did that, and it really, really helped me. And I'm like, how can these people all over the world be rallying for me? Like, he took the time out of his day to like email me and be like, my name's Dr. Brown. I hope you get this email. And it was like, it meant so much to me that even the airline stewardess who like changed out my ice pack because I was crying, and, like, it's like, these people are like rallying for me. It made me feel really good.
But was it still excruciating in 6 and 7?
Yeah. Like, it was so bad that my bottom lip was quivering on its own. Like, it was so painful that like, you can't think straight, and you just can't, and you just envision like, I'm going to cross the finish line. I've put in so much hard work and dedication to this event that like, and I'll pay for that. When I crossed the finish line, it was awesome. Like, my parents were live on Skype, and my daughter was watching. Everybody was watching, and it made me feel really happy. And like, I just triumphed, and so.
Are you like, looking back on it, are you like kind of pumped that you tore your groin? Because you're like, damn, this was like a really come from behind story.
Yes and no. Like, it really made for a miserable experience during, and scary. Like, I wish it didn't happen. But, and also it doesn't really do well. Like, when I tell kids, listen to your body will tell you if you need a break. So when my friends call me and they're like, oh, I had a shin splint, but I ran through it. And I'm like, no one's proud of you. Now you're going to be hurt, and that was not a good idea. You shouldn't be running. But like, I did it. So people were like, well, you did it. But but I had a world record at stake. Like the Guinness Book of World Records was at stake. So it was like, it's different, but it's hard for me to say, oh, well, I did it, but you don't do that. So, I don't recommend, I highly recommend listening to your body, and, your body will tell you, like, I need a break, or go, you feel good, go. So when I had the help the second time, I crossed the finish line, and it was awesome because my daughter ran the last 100 yards with me, and I ran 2 days later. Like I got home to Boston and I just went for a little run, and I was like,
with the groin tear.
No, this was the second time. The first time I was out, I could not run for 30 days. So I think that the run across America is probably going to be a lot like that. I'm going to get, at some point over these 54 days, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble, and something's going to hurt a lot. And during the 777, like one runner, his feet were so swollen, he could not run with sneakers. And like one runner had severe back issues, like this, putting a lot on the line, so I think the I think the run across America is going to be a lot like that.
Are you like a masochist, do you think?
No. Yeah, I mean, I definitely am. People are like, you're crazy. I'm like, oh, certifiably. Like, no one's arguing. Like, I am definitely as crazy as. But I think it takes a lot of crazy to do these type of things.
Absolutely, and I love that, and I feel you on that. I'm nuts too, man.
Yeah, I mean, people are like, then you get the people that are like, I was in Wall Street Journal, Sports Illustrated, all these things, and people are like, well, you're not curing cancer, you're not saving the world. But I didn't, like, that's hurtful to me because I'm doing the best that what I'm most proud of. So like I have a children's book, and the proceeds go towards my foundation. We've given over $30,000 in my foundation to high school kids, and I have a 5K race and graduating seniors, and that makes me so proud to be able to give back. So while I'm not saving the world and I'm not curing cancer, I'm super proud of my foundation. And
wait, I don't really understand what the critics, what their argument is.
I think that's the hardest part of being who I am, is I think people just don't like your dreams. And I think, and that's okay, and I think but reading the comments was like one time I like cried myself to sleep, and I was crying, and my daughter came out of the room and she's like, "What's the matter, Mom?" And I just stared at her because I didn't want to say that. Like one person was like, "I think that you should hang yourself." And I was like, I've never wished that on anybody, but that's, and like, I was so proud to have the Wall Street Journal, like, but the comments are like, and how could I couldn't tell my daughter. So I just stared at her, and she was like, are you happy crying? I'm like, yep, that's what I'm doing. I'm happy crying. I'm following my dreams and living my dreams. And I never had the heart to tell her that, like, people are mean. And that's what's really hard about having big goals and big dreams. People they don't like them, and many, like, the biggest.
I don't understand the argument though. Like what's their stance? Like, you don't deserve this attention because all you did was run.
Yeah. And that's what's really,
shut up. Just
that's, and I don't come just to read them. So I stopped, unfortunately, like whenever people publish articles, I stopped really reading the comments, but people will call me and they say, I quit smoking because of you, or my husband died of cancer and you've given me something I ran my first marathon because of you. And that makes it worth it. Like if anybody ever runs their first 5K or because of me, like that makes me really, really proud.
I got my long one on Thursday. I'm going to put an extra half mile in, man.
I think you should. I've never regretted a run. I've never said, damn, I wish I didn't do. I've never, like, that's the thing about running. It's like, you just, it's a tough sport. It will chew you out and spit you out. But I think
so boring, Becca.
It's just different. It's so different. I mean, I played soccer my whole life, and I especially love, I just really, but I think, running's tough, and I understand if you need a break, take a break. And when you feel good, go for it.
I just want to peel back a little bit in your thoughts on pain. So like, I've noticed this is what's really helped me the past just 4 weeks with running. I've always hated cardio, but I've realized, like, all right, like, you gotta, if you can be okay with the suffering a little bit, you'll feel a little bit tougher after. Like, what do you think pain is a necessity for growth mentally?
I do. And I think you do what you can. So some days you go out and you say, I'm going to do 4 miles. And then you wind up doing 6. You always wind up doing more than you think you can do, but just don't put pressure on yourself. Or, if it's going to stress you out, or if you're going to hate the run just skip it. But I always say, head out for a run without a goal. Just say I'm going running, just put aside. Also, the thing about running, I find like if I just stick to a time, like my time that I'm running is 5 a.m., and the biggest thing for me is when people are like, I want to do what you're doing, but I don't have time. It's a slap in the face for me because I'm up at 4:30 in the morning running. And if it's important to you, you'll find the time. If it's something that you want to be doing, you'll find, but it's hard when people are like, oh, I want to be you. I want to do what you do, but I just don't have time. I'm like, well, I'm not, so
I was going to say, you're operating 2 businesses right now, right?
yeah, I own my daughter's 12 and, I own a daycare. I manage an ice cream shop. Both are very successful and busy. And, I wrote a children's book and I'm very busy, but I love my life is like a puzzle. I love all the things that I do. And, I have my foundation and I have my, I assistant coach the girls soccer team and I conditioning coach with them. And so, but I love all the things that I do, but it's very much like a puzzle. So when people say like, oh, I want to do what you do, but I don't have time. It's stressful. It's hard for me to hear that because I work very hard, and
you've challenged yourself to the like absolute limit physically. Have you been able to channel it into your business life? Like, has it been easy to translate it or is it still a challenge?
Yeah, I think with me, like with my ice cream shop that I manage and the daycare that I own, people trust because I am very successful in my outside life that people are going to expect the same of, so my daycare is very clean. The ice cream shop is very clean. It's very successful and both do really well. So I definitely think
it's Moosey's, right?
Yeah, Moosey's.
So did you started that, when did you guys take over Brigham's? Because that is what
so 8 years ago.
And you were part of that acquisition? Like, all right.
Yeah, I just went from like store manager to store manager and I have my own flavor named after me, the Becca 7. You have to come try it. It's really good. And, but people come in and they're like, oh my God, are you the runner? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I love being here. I think that they think that my name's associated, but we're not going to see her there. And then, that's what I love. I love being at the ice cream shop. I love my daycare. I love all these things. So I feel lucky.
Now, what is your day-to-day like if you're pre-marathon prep training, let's say Boston was on this year in March, what would your day-to-day be like?
So getting up at 5 a.m. and I'm still running about 70 miles per week. So get up, run, get Taylor off to school. Once I get my daughter off to school, then I can feel like, okay, now I need to work. And then when she comes home, then I also bought a Peloton, which I really, really love. I didn't think it would be for me, but I really love it. I use it all the time. And it's another great second workout. I don't like to run twice. And then I was doing a ton with TB12 and it's really nice to go in there and pay extra attention to your body. And, but then I try to go to bed early, but it doesn't really work. I always go to bed at like midnight. So just trying to, stay busy during the day.
So you wake up at 5, you go for your run, you send your daughter off to school. And then where do you work in the business life with the daycare?
The daycare is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and the ice cream shop's Wednesday, Saturday, typically. So
you work every day of the week?
Yeah.
Full day?
I work. And Sunday's the only day that I don't run and I don't work. Try to catch up in my life on Sundays. Laundry.
What is it like for you when your body takes a week break from running? Do you feel really?
It's very rare. It has to be a very huge goal because I believe in recovery runs too. So even after a marathon, I'll take 1 or 2 days off and then recovery, slow running. And, but it's when I do stuff like the 777 and I'm kind of crabby when I'm not running. So I'm not really the same person. I don't really like to not run. Kind of keeps me sane.
You got the OCD bug, man.
Yeah, that is definitely. I feel so fortunate to be able to run, that I have my health. I mean, we are very lucky.
Hey, Famo, I could ask Becca questions for years, but Lexi, we'll start with you. You got something for Becca?
Yes, I do. Hi, Becca. I
Hi.
want to ask you, in your 2018 777, you took a wrong turn in your Columbia race. Have you taken any other metaphorical wrong turns in your life?
My first marriage, maybe. So yeah, other, you know what? Like sometimes life does it doesn't go your way. And no, college was awesome. I went to college in North Carolina. I absolutely love the experience. They are
Where'd
my
you go?
biggest fan. Yeah, in Mars Hill University outside of Asheville, a big running school. You know, we went to nationals, got the rings and the titles, and I have no regrets. You know, even I joke with my marriage, but even my first marriage, I have no regrets, and it's all a learning experience. And you're going to make so many mistakes in life, and that's okay. When you make a mistake, just brush it off and own it and move on.
Well, what are your mistakes? Like we just talked about a lot of W's today, man.
Trial and error. You know, sometimes you get life really wrong, or you know, even what's hardest for me is raising my child and not really knowing. You know, we are so close, and are we too close? I don't know. You know, you just kind of trust that you know what you're doing, and you know, you could read all the books in the world and you can do all the things in the world, but just trying to just
is balance really hard for you?
Balance. You know, it's hard when people invite me to dinner and I can't go, and it's not that I don't want to, and I can't fit it in, and I don't want to, you know, that it's hard for me to say no. I think that's tough for me. You know, it's not, and then I like you know, my parents would sometimes say, you're too busy, you know, especially like leading up to the Boston Marathon and these certain, you know, you're too busy. Are you okay? And I'm like, I like this, you know, it keeps me out of trouble. So I think it's hard for me to say no sometimes.
Dude, you're going to live till you're like 280.
I hope so. That's another record.
I hope I'm with you, man. I got to join your running club though. Hey, B,
yeah.
You want to ask Becca a question?
Yeah. Hey, Becca.
Hi.
So I'm totally amazed by your mental fortitude, but I just wanted to ask you about footwear, because there's this famous example in Mexico of a tribe that runs barefoot and they excel at ultra marathons. Have you ever tried running barefoot, and like what goes into your shoe selection?
No, so I was lucky and I'm fortunate enough to be partnered with Newton Running, and they make a great stability sneaker. And I know they are a marathon sneaker, and I know that all the miles that I'm going to be running, I've been running since I was 6. I'm 40 years old, and if it's not broken, like I'm not going to fix it. So that's even like the change in my diet and the keeping up with the Joneses. I don't do any of that because it's work for me. So eating all that I want to eat and, you know, running in the sneakers I want to be running in, it just works for me. So many of the people, my friends, have moved to the Vibram sneakers, and they're very happy in them. But and many have run the 777, although you can't run in Antarctica because your feet will freeze. But the Vibrams, and they were very happy with those. So I've just never gone that route. And until I'm injured, it takes like an injury for me to really switch something up.
Right now, do you think you could just send it and play pro sports?
Probably coming out of college, but probably not now.
I don't know, man. Like you're in such ridiculous shape that you might be able to play women's soccer.
Well, I do love soccer, and but I think I could be a real good ultra marathon runner. And I think that I would be good in an Ironman someday because the endurance is there. But
in a ball sport though.
Yeah. Going pro. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I definitely, so in college I walked on the soccer team because when I would play intramural, they're like, who's this girl that when I can score all the goals at the end when everybody else is tired because of the endurance. So I was able to score many goals. So sometimes in college I would go to a race in the morning and then have a 4:00 soccer game and be able to score goals at the second half of the game because everybody else was so tired and my endurance level was still really fit. So I do miss soccer. I definitely do. But no, I don't want to move to, I love the town of Belmont that I live in. I don't want to move and definitely don't want to put that much work, so I'm happy. I know
what you're saying, but do you think athletically and also mentally right now, like if you really wanted to put your mind to it, you could play in a professional women's soccer league?
Yeah, I would love to. I love soccer. I would definitely, I don't know if my skill level is there, but I definitely would love to. I'm like drawn to that type and really competitive. I think between being really fit and really competitive, but I'm trying to put that all into like the Run Across America, which is I've never had a dream so big for me that I'm afraid to tell people. Like that's something that I'm afraid to tell people because there's so much room for failure.
Now, how does that run work?
The world record is 54 miles a day for 56 days.
So essentially a little over 2 marathons for 56 days straight.
Yeah, that's the world record.
When do you want to do it?
2021. Like to do that. I mean, we have the resources to, I have a team of people. And
did you look up James Lawrence when I sent you that thing?
No, I didn't get a chance to yet.
He did it.
Yeah.
And then he broke his his body fat got to 1%. Well, actually, no, I think he did an Ironman in every state, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what he did. And Pete Kolsnick did and I talked to him and he said it's a long 60. He did it in 30 something days and he went 64 miles a day, something like that. He said he has no regrets in doing it. It was a time of his life, but it's very stressful.
Now, one thing I saw on the Joe Rogan podcast with the woman Courtney is she said when you really reach the physical apex of your races, you can sometimes hallucinate. Has that happened to you?
Yeah, that happened to me when I was doing the Volcano Marathon, and literally it's an out of body experience. You just can't even think straight. And that kind of happened to me in Antarctica too, where you become delusional. You're like I thought I was hearing things and I was like, well, I'm not hearing things. I just can't, it's so cold. I can't think straight. So that's exactly another thing. So, but you just
what were you hearing?
I was hearing pin drops, but there was nothing around me. So I remember looking, it kind of sounded like those little triangular musical things. And I'm like, what was that? And I would like look around and there was nothing around. So you kind of become a little delusional when you're running like that.
And so do you feel like your training now is primed for the cross country?
I think that everything that I've done leading up to this point is definitely on the right track, but I will definitely need to be running 100-mile weeks at least for a few months before rather than when I hit the 100-mile weeks, I was doing that like once every couple weeks, but I'm going to have to start doing 100 and like a bunch of 24-hour races too.
How does sleep work for that challenge?
So you're running and sleeping. That's it. Running, sleeping, eating. So there's just like the 777, except no flying.
Jeez.
So I put a team together. My team just won Dave McGilvery's. We had virtual race across America. We won it by like 700 miles. And that was fun. But it was fun because you kind of got to watch it, they'd be like, good morning, you've woken up and you're in whatever, what state. And you're like, okay. But thinking about being in a state for so long is kind of tough. But I'll have to run across Massachusetts to see what that feels like. Maybe run to Canada to see what that feels like.
Growing up for you, was it hard for you to get along with other girls?
No, because I think my personality, I just want to be friends with everybody. So I think I got lucky that all my friends actually were very supportive. Back in the day,
were they competitive though?
Not really. Yeah, we were more of I did play soccer, so you're more of a team than competitive. And I had a real good friend, a running friend too. And we were, we always went to races together but it was fun to have her support. We were in different events. So that was nice too. But no, I just remember my friends, community, family being really supportive, even though my dreams are absolutely crazy. And I knew that I wanted to run in college and after college.
I think your audio just cut out for a sec.
Sorry. Yeah. So
there you go. Hey, Riley, you want to ask a question?
I can ask Riley's for her. She had to hop off.
Oh, that Riley, man.
Riley wants to know, Becca, have you ever experienced doubters because of your gender, despite how clearly talented and motivated you are?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So I've been in line at Starbucks before, and people are like, did you hear about the girl that's great? That's impossible. Nobody could ever do that. And I think being a female, and a female has never done it before. And what was stressful is when I was doing it, I was speaking to men that had done it. So in my mind, I knew I could do it, but I think definitely being a female, a lot of people were saying to me, to my face, I'm going to follow you because I don't believe that this is impossible. Nobody could do this. That's why I'm going to follow you. I'm like, how about you follow me because you believe in me and that maybe there's a chance that I can do it, So that was really tough and stressful. And the comments that were the worst ever were all from men. And I'm like, what is it that was really hurtful? And how it's unfortunate because if you knew me, we probably would be friends. So
those are the most insecure dudes on the planet.
It was, and then having the people come to bat for you, you're like, oh no, don't even fight on my behalf. Like, I don't even care. Like, it was really stressful having the comments that were so hurtful. But yeah, people were like, I'm going to follow you because this is impossible. Nobody can do that, and I'm like, or being in line in Starbucks and people talking about you, like, there's no way, no one's going to do, and it was I was like the talk of the town. Also, because there's really nothing else going on in January. There's no like major sports in Boston. And I think people were bored, but to hear them talking about you in line, you're like, whoa, that's mean, but that fueled my fire,
Was this the Belmont Center Starbucks?
Yeah. They're like,
really narrow one.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I hear you. Like, I've heard, or people, my friends will tell me somebody said that and they've stuck up for me. And I'm like,
So that's so interesting to me that it affects you, like the negative comments affects you like that. Are you fueled more by positivity or negativity?
Yeah. Especially when somebody says like they quit smoking because of me, or they were sick with cancer and they gave me hope, or especially like they've run their first 5K because of me. That just means everything to me. But you tell me somebody has said something about me, and I'm going to like take it out on the course, and I'm going to run as fast as I can and give it 100%, so
negativity.
Yeah.
I'm the same way, man. It's just like things could be going so well, but I feel like I don't really kick into like another gear with anything I'm doing unless I have some sort of hate.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like when I got lost in Colombia, and nothing will scare you like being lost in Colombia. I was like, my body like wanted to break down. I ran an extra mile and I was like, and everyone's like, it's an extra mile in a 160-mile race. Who cares? And I'm like, I am going to throw down in this last race. I was just fueled. I was like, I'm going to throw down in this last race the second time with the 777. So I was like, nothing's going to stop me. Now I'm angry. Now I'm mad at myself for getting lost and not paying attention. And so I gave it like 1,000% on the last race because I was like, I'm running mad. I'm running, so I'm not in the mood. So that helped.
Now, you don't drink at all, right?
I don't drink. People are like, what's wrong with you? Like, what's the mystery? And it's just, I have a very addictive personality. I'm a runner and, but I think, to me, I don't like the feeling of getting up and feeling like crap, and
me too.
Probably I'm going to always be going for a run the next day. And I don't like that feeling. If I'm at a wedding or if I want to have a drink with that's like no problem. But I don't want people to see me and be like, yeah, we always see her drinking, or because we like, my husband and I go out to eat 6 nights. We love to go out to eat. And
6 nights a week, you go out?
Yeah, we go out to eat 6, maybe not so much now because Corona.
What do you like in Belmont? You like Il Casal?
No, I mostly like the restaurants like right outside of Belmont. Like Bertucci's is like my go-to, and I
the one at Holway.
Yeah, the one
I love that one too.
Me too. Their food is great. The service is awesome, and
Summer
and
Shack?
then we love. If you've never been, Barcelona and Brookline, they have tapas. My absolute favorite. So we love anything like that. But I feel like I don't know. I don't want my daughter seeing me. I'm not self-conscious about it, but I'm careful around her.
And no, obviously you don't smoke any peyote or anything like that.
No.
Have you ever?
Never in my life.
Really?
Yeah. And very, it's definitely something I'm proud of. And yeah, I definitely, I'm just always been super careful and I get my highs from running. I always have.
I was going to say you were pretty much tripping on the volcano anyway, man. Yeah. So you're okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, when you set up the cross country challenge, I definitely want to run another episode.
I will definitely be there. Yeah. I am always up to something. So like anytime I'm doing something new, when I finish the 50 states, because the 50 states has been really fun. So, lots of stories in there. So I'll definitely come back on and then the Run Across America and maybe Kona Ironman someday.
And hopefully we can meet in person, man.
Yeah, I love that.
How tall are you? Like 5'1"?
5'1".
Wow, and you still run so fast. That's insane.
Yeah.
Is there like a desired height and weight for a female competitive ultramarathon runner?
No, I'm not your typical runner. I think that there is no, like, if you run, you run. But I think people, when they meet me in person, they're expecting like emaciated, thin, tall, skinny runner. And I'm just not. And I think that's why I'm so lucky that I've never had other than like pushing my body to the limit, has never had like, my running friends are constantly out with stress fractures and shin splints and all these things. I think I just, between listening to my body and being a thicker runner, kind of defying the odds.
Okay, so before we go, we have a couple little bits to end our show. One, did you have fun?
I had the time of my life.
I hope this was not the time of your life. I hope like running across the country is going to be the time of your life.
I love to share my story, so thanks for listening.
Absolutely. Okay, so our first bit is called GDP sales mode. So I'm going to go onto my phone and I'm going to take out the timing app. And I'm going to time out 40 seconds. You have the floor for 40 seconds to pitch whatever you want to pitch. You already kind of talked about your children's book a little bit and maybe some of the other stuff you're doing. I would might pitch Moosies, or if you want to just use some inspirational words, that's fine too. But you have 40 seconds. And when there's only 10 seconds left, I'm going to put my hand up and I'm going to give you a hard cut at 40. Okay.
Okay.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, sales mode, go.
Hi, it's Becca Pizzi here from Belmont, Mass. And be sure to try my ice cream flavor, the Becca 7 at Moosies Belmont. And if you want to follow me, I'm always up to something. I just wrote a children's book. I'm an author of Becca's Feet on Feet, and you can find it at beccapizzi.com. It's a children's book for early readers, maybe 7 to 12. And follow me at beccapizzi.com, and I'm on Facebook as well, and running my 18th Boston Marathon in September. So hope to see you soon, and reach out if you have any questions.
Well executed. 35 seconds in the 40. Good work. Okay. This is how we start and end the show. You say, hi, your name, and this is my golden hour. Directly after, no break, hi, your name, and that was my golden hour. So it's this is and that was.
Wait, so what do I say? This
So
is Becca.
hi, I'm Becca Pizzi, and this is my golden hour. Then hi, I'm Becca Pizzi, and that was my golden hour. And I would dress it up a little bit. I would say like ultra marathon runner, badass, kick ass in the world.
Hi, I'm Becca Pizzi, ultra endurance runner, and this is my golden hour.
Yeah.
So should I? Hi, I'm Becca Pizzi, and that was my golden hour.
Well executed. That was perfect. Hey, I'll probably just drop it off when my father lives in Cambridge, but I want to get you and your daughter a sweatshirt.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Could she wear a small?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Could you wear a small?
Yeah.
All right, we got a plan, man. Hey, thank you so much. And I think, hey, Lexi, when do you want to drop this? Can we drop Friday or Thursday?
Let's do Thursday.
Thursday morning, we're going to drop this.
Perfect.
And we'll produce a bunch of clips so you can share whatever you want.
Okay, that sounds great.
Hey, thank you so much for doing this for us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, hey, we'll talk soon. Thank you.
All right, sounds good.
Freeze and fire.